So Carson price for Friday, April 10th, 2026. We're a presentation of Bet365. Check out Bet365's 3-goal early payout. When your team goes up 3, you get paid. It's that simple. Download the app today. Must be 19 plus. Play responsibly. Matt Sekeres alongside Blake Price, Mike Rogerson, and all his Junos hitting switches and conducting things today on another glorious spring day in the city of Vancouver. Oh, my goodness. We have out-of-town company here for my mother's birthday weekend, one of them coming from Vegas, so she's accustomed to some pretty nice weather.
And you told them this happens all the time, as you
Absolutely.
must as a Vancouverite.
I've not only told them that, but yesterday we went up to the restaurant atop Grouse Mountain on a clear evening with just, oh, my goodness. My first time up there at the restaurant. Holy cow. I mean, the views that you get from that vantage. The entire community. I mean, you can see the Seattle, for heaven's sakes.
I love it.
So they were just going gaga at the ocean and the mountains. And, you know, we saw UBC and Point Grey, and we saw Mount Baker, and it's just, I love it
for the sports too. Like for the kids, I'm dropping off kids at practice, and I know they're just going to be working on their drills. They're not looking to stay warm and stay dry. They can actually just work on the craft. I'm happy for the Vancouver Canadians getting in their games each and every night.
Very much
I'm happy
so.
for the Whitecaps who get to train on a very nice pitch because it's growing nicely. It's not overly saturated.
And they had open roof last week, and who knows, maybe open roof tomorrow.
I think it's supposed to get ugly tomorrow. But it works for everybody.
Get a round in the morning and then kick back and watch the Masters all weekend.
Well, there's that too. The golf courses are drying out too. So
yeah. We're coming to you from the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studio here at the historic Wall Center. Visit shoptoyota.ca or visit your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. So we're inside a month from the NHL Draft Lottery, which will take place on May 5th. The Vancouver Canucks will know their fate, whether they pick first overall, second, or third. And, of course, the odds are, even setting aside Canuck luck and the fact that they have never won a draft lottery, but, of course, the odds are that they are going to pick third overall. It is a 55.7% chance of picking third overall, just a 25.5% chance of picking first overall, 18.8% to pick second. So that, coupled with the fact that the big North Dakota defenseman Keaton Verhoff has now completed his freshman season, his first collegiate season, leads us to today's daily poll question. Well, him and the fact that we seem to be talking about Caleb Malhotra every second day or so with his exploits in the OHL playoffs. Manny's son is one of the big risers, the helium kid in this year's draft. We're asking you, who should the Canucks take if they fall to third overall in the NHL draft lottery? You can vote for Caleb Malhotra. You can vote for Keaton Verhoff. You can vote for other, and if you do, please specify in reply, because there are other candidates here. We'll get into some of those names. Or you can vote to trade down. Do so at the Sekeres and Price X and YouTube channels. Denver and Wisconsin will play for the Collegiate Hockey Championship this weekend after dispatching Michigan and North Dakota, respectively, last night in the Frozen Four national semifinals in Vegas. So Verhoff's freshman season concludes with 6 goals, 20 points in 36 games. As Cam Robinson notes, it is the 14th best U18 season by a defenseman in NHL history. Now, Keaton Verhoff did struggle down the stretch, and you can look at some of the names there, and let's face it, until this most recent rule where you've had CHL players eligible to play in the NCAA. Before last year, this was not a thing. And so that list is populated with a lot of American kids. There's some Canadians in there as well who took the collegiate route, but of course did so many, many moons ago. Zach Werenski, I guess, would be the outlier. And really, previously, even for an American defenseman to be U18 in the NCAAs, you would have had to have advanced quickly scholastically, right?
Quinn Hughes, an example of that as well. But yeah, it's generally been older players, and it's a tough league.
It's just it hasn't been a huge sample of U18 defensemen in the collegiate ranks until more recently.
Yeah,
and certainly not the cream of the cream prospects. Not a ton of those. So anyways, it's the 14th best. Now, he did struggle down the stretch defensively. He was not very good for North Dakota last night.
No.
Now, the good news for Verhoff is this is not the final period on his hockey season 25-26, because Cam Robinson also reports that Verhoff will be made available to Team Canada's U18 World Championship roster. Huge opportunity, as Cam notes, to play against your age group and not all these older players that you've been playing against in the NCAA.
And you can look so good.
Oh, my goodness.
After doing
absolutely.
that.
And, to be fair, and we've said this about Gavin McKenna as well, these two young men decided to challenge themselves in what is a better league of hockey in the NCAA against older competition rather than just dominate the Western Hockey League. Of course, McKenna was with the Medicine Hat Tigers last year and was a dominant player even at 16, 17. And Verhoff last year also in the NC2A ranks with in the CHL ranks with Victoria, the Royals. So their performances this year, and we've talked about it, have to be taken with a grain of salt. Verhoff has been the consensus third best player available in this draft, according to most evaluators. In fact, earlier in the season, some thought he could vie to be first or second overall and bumping one of Gavin McKenna or Ivar Stenberg from those spots. More recently, again, after some of these struggles we've seen in the back half of the year, other evaluators have him dropping down their draft boards with either Manny's son, Caleb, at number 3, the center with the Brantford Bulldogs. We'll get into his here. Other defensemen there as well. Sault Ste. Marie's Chase Reed, Prince George's Carson Carels, and the big Latvian Albert Smits also in the mix. And there may well be others. I mean, we oftentimes see pretty big surprises. Bennett Seneca was not supposed to go third overall to Anaheim a few years ago, but they popped on him, and boy, has he turned into a magnificent rookie in the NHL. So there could be more involved at number 3, but I think you're looking at Caleb Malhotra, Keaton Verhoff, and then those other 3 defensemen that we mentioned. Malhotra, incidentally, up to 96 points in 72 games this year, including 12 in just 5 playoff games. And unless his team loses 4 in a row from here, and we've got a bunch of kids here at the Wall Center for a mock United Nation. So the best and brightest here at Wall Center.
The
today.
Bulldogs back at it tonight, by the way, 4 o'clock for us here on the West Coast, taking on the Battalion. And
they're going to play a lot more games, though, by the looks of it. So Malhotra is going to be able to get a lot more individual viewings from scouts who have fewer and fewer games to see as the playoff winds down and teams get eliminated.
You can't watch McKenna anymore. You can't watch Stenberg anymore, at least for now. There's a chance McKenna plays for Canada at the World Championship.
World Seniors, and there's a chance that Stenberg plays for Sweden at the World Senior Championship.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, I say senior. It's not senior hockey, but you know what I mean.
I would love to know how many OHL online memberships get sold here in the next couple of weeks for those that want to scout Malhotra with their own eyes. Here's where I'll answer the poll question.
Please do, because I think I know where you're going, Mr. Counterintuitive.
Well, first of all, I'll pin down the very narrow path of having cake and eating it too, and that is, if you are at 3 and you know that the person at 4 or 5, most notably 4, really wants Keaton Verhoff, you could trade down, get a little bit of asset in return, and get Caleb Malhotra at 4 anyway. I want Caleb Malhotra. If I'm sitting in the 3 spot, I want Caleb Malhotra. But if I can trade down and still get Caleb Malhotra, that is the perfect storm. That is a narrow path. It is possible, but that's what I would want to do. For the sake of this particular poll question and the options, I'll just vote Caleb Malhotra.
When you first brought this up a couple of months ago, I thought it was really pie in the sky stuff because, as you mentioned, it's an exceedingly narrow path of a team that feels compelled to jump up to number 3 and part with a relatively good asset. So they have to have the desire, they have to have the capital, and then you have to have the willingness on your end, potentially giving up the guy that you most want.
Mm-hmm.
As we creep closer, and 4 or 5 games left for teams on the NHL schedule, we are entering a most delicious possibility here on that file, Blake. Because if the Canucks do land number 3, and let's just play it out with one of Chicago, or let's play it out with both Chicago and Calgary getting first and second. Those are the other
next
two,
best odds.
The next best odds. So the Rangers would pick number 4, and the Rangers have a second first-round pick, which belong the Dallas Indigenous pick. Right now it's showing at number 27 overall. Seattle picks number 5. And the Kraken have a second first-round pick, the Indigenous Tampa Bay pick, right now showing at number 25. And the Boston Bruins would pick at number 6 with the Toronto selection. Now, if that selection improves to number 5, the Leafs keep their pick. And would it not be so delicious if it came in at number 6 and Boston gets it? I mean, that's the highest possible pick that Boston could get this year from the Leafs. And the Boston Bruins have another first-round pick at number 22. So right now, and of course we've played this out with Calgary as well, who holds the Vegas Indigenous pick, number 19 overall. Calgary also awash in draft capital this year. They have their own and the Rangers second-round pick. Right now, those would be picks 35 and 36. They have the Utah second-round pick. Right now, that would be 52. They have the Ottawa second-round pick. Right now, that would be 54. And they have 2 high picks in the third round, their own and Vancouver's. So Calgary right now has, count them up, 8 of the first 67 selections in the draft, Blake, which is just astounding. So I'm getting more and more intrigued, Blake, by the possibility of a trade down should you be looking at the Flames, Rangers, Kraken, or Bruins, and we've even talked about San Jose in this realm as well because they hold the second first round
but
pick.
the question is, let's start with the Rangers first, the team directly behind them.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask them, who do you want, Verhoff or Malhotra, who do you think they are saying? The team that is so old down the middle. Mm-hmm. I think they'd rather have Caleb Malhotra. Don't you think? Now, they just traded Keandre Miller.
Their defense is, I mean, there's even talk like Braden Schneider's available now. And of course, he wasn't at one point. Look, the Rangers need just about everything. I think Rangers your best player available regardless of position.
Has anybody swindled another team trading down, saying we're going to go with so-and-so, and then actually traded the guy that you wanted? Has that ever happened?
I don't know if that's the case. What I do remember is the draft floor that one year when Brian Burke was mic'd up and got himself in some trouble talking about the Canucks players who are available in trade, like name-dropping BX and somebody else. Yeah. But that year, Brian Murray was the Ottawa GM and walked up to Burke to make a deal for the Leafs pick. And Brian said, "Who's your guy?" And Murray said, "Kadri." And he said, "No dice. He's our guy too."
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that conversation happens a lot.
I think you have to have that conversation if you're the Canucks. But of course, Blake, like you're playing this out on the scenario of Caleb is absolutely their guy. It is completely feasible that they draw very little distinction between Caleb Malhotra, Keaton Verhoff or one of these other defensemen that we've talked about. I mean, Chase Reed seems to have a lot of helium right now as well. And, of course, his Sault Ste. Marie team is still engaged in the OHL playoff. They're taking on top-seeded Kitchener. I've seen it written about him that he's a modern defenseman, a 6'2", a long enough, big enough mover, terrific skater who brings offensive chops to the table as well as being a good defender. So we'll see. We won't know who the Canucks have number 3 overall unless they.
I think in a lot of these cases, BPA is pretty close.
Yep.
On the BPA factor, but on need, it's not close for the Canucks. They need a center. So if it's pretty darn close for best player available, then you go with what you need, and you need a center.
And I have seen some Canucks fans say if they take Malhotra third overall, they'll be doing so for positional need, and that will be a smudge on the rebuild because you should just take best player available. And to take a right shot defenseman is also an organizational need. As we know, the Canucks, they have Buiam and EPD on the left side. They have Tom Villander and Philip Roenick on the right side. But the right shot defenseman being, especially the two-way top 4 all situations right shot defenseman, being amongst, if not the scarcest commodity in the National
Mancini's
Hockey
right shot
League.
Too, but he's the longer shot.
Well, I think Mancini is failing out here, Blake.
You think so?
Yeah. Well, I didn't even dress last night.
No.
Both Verhoff and Reed are right shot defensemen. Carels and Smiths are left shot defensemen. Hey, while it will be disappointing to the Canucks and their fans if they drop out of one of the top 2 spots, I do think on draft day you will see many smiles from the Canucks because I think they recognize they will be getting a very, very good player and a foundational building block for the organization going forward.
I wonder if a couple of the big strapping defensemen that have gone at or near the top, the Nemiches of the world, the fact that it has been...
They generally take longer to develop.
Like it's been a lukewarm start for a lot of these guys. I wonder if that cools the interest in Verhoff even more so than his recent performance as well.
Now, the other thing, and God, I hope the Canucks don't consider this when they make the selection if it is third overall, is whether they can drop into the NHL lineup next year.
Yeah, I think that this is the kind of franchise that does think like that. Yeah.
And it is the mark of a poor franchise, and it is the mark of a franchise that should have learned this lesson. I realize Virtanen and McCann didn't drop in immediately after their draft year, but they dropped in too early nonetheless. Mm-hmm. And it wound up tainting the organization's view of Jared McCann. They moved him on in that disastrous Eric Goodbranson trade, and Jared McCann has turned into a very good NHL player who could have been a whole lot of help for the Canucks over the last decade.
Yep.
But I find myself with you, Blake. I voted trade down just because it so intrigues me.
And
if you're pinning me down on a player, I'm going Caleb Malhotra.
Well, here's where the trade down is also intriguing.
Although Reed, I think,
from this franchise standpoint, they want a fast track. Like it is everything they can do. They need to buckle themselves to a chair to stop themselves from trying to fast track.
Keep your arms inside the windows.
So, but here's the way they can have their cake and eat it too. A fast track that's also a legit rebuild is compiling a crazy amount of draft picks in a short amount of time. And, you know, if trading down gets you another top pick, a top pick in this draft is just as good as a top pick in another draft, you are fast tracking your rebuild. So I could see them using that logic and saying, hey, if we get another top pick, a 18th, 22nd overall, that's the same as 3 years from now getting a 22nd overall. we're fast track. We're ahead of schedule. And they see the, a light at the end of the tunnel maybe sooner rather than later.
Vote at the Carson Price X and YouTube channels. One other thing we'll say, part and parcel of all this, the prized college free agent TJ Hughes of the University of Michigan is now available to sign anywhere, although reports indicate he's already turned the Vancouver Canucks down.
David Jiricek, by the way, another
right.
strapping defenseman, failure to launch here so far. Just 22, but...
Yeah, well, I mean, we're seeing it with Bliam, right? Like, it takes a little longer for the defenseman. I mean, very few Matthew Schaefers out there, who, by the way, has now tied the rookie record for goals. Do you hear what DeBoer said about him? Pete DeBoer just got there as coach, right? Just got his first win. He said something along the lines of, like, I know for everybody here, they've been watching him all year, but wow, from the bench, I just found myself watching him and going, what a hockey player. And Pete DeBoer is one of these coaches who is typically not
tip those kinds of hands.
Heap praise on young NHLers, but even he was awed, slack-jawed, mouth agape at the guy he gets to coach.
I just like that he's a different style of player. Like
so do I.
He is not Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar. He is far more Paul Coffey than those guys.
Yeah, he's more north-south than he is east-west and edgework, although He's got a lot of tools in the kit.
Oh, yeah,
wow.
He's fun.
What a marvelous player. Let's get to our top story, brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Winery. The ethics and dignity of tanking, if those phrases aren't oxymoronic. In Calgary, our colleagues at Flames Nation, Barn Burner, Afterburner, have been talking about the Canucks' quote-unquote unethical tank and the Flames, quote unquote, dignified tank. That there is a distinction between these two Pacific Division rivals and how they've gone about the excruciating business of sinking to the bottom of the NHL standings. So here's regular guest Noodles McLennan, Jamie McLennan, of course, of Overdrive and TSN in Toronto. He's talking with ex-NHLer Rhett Warner, who is a staple in Calgary.
On Barn Burner.
On Barn Burner, and the host Dean Molberg about the differences between the Vancouver and the Calgary tank jobs.
The difference between the Flames and the Canucks is staggering.
Yes.
Staggering.
Staggering, because I've said this, and I remember I coined it, the dignified tank as opposed to the tank, which is just a mess. And
they don't care.
Calgary's team does not cheat you for effort. They make every team that they play against earn that win that night. And, I know when we talked and Calgary had gotten points in 5 and you're like, what the hell are they doing? And all of that. But that's great coaching. That's a culture. That's a system. What they need to do is continue to plug really good players into that culture, into that system.
What they need is
So, look, and yet, as our friend Trevor Martins, who is a Flames fan, noted, the Flames scratched 3 veterans last night. And T. Martin notes, management coaching realizing that dropping to 6th or 7th in this draft would really sour what has been a very good rebuilding season so far. Hey, fair enough.
And the opposite remains true for Adam Foote and the Vancouver Canucks. He is still more often than not going veteran lane. Evander Kane playing till the very last second, while people have been saying, play the kids for God's sakes.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and in fairness, that conversation yesterday happened before these scratches were apparent for the Flames. Now, look, there is a distinction, though. Vancouver has already locked up last place, did so long ago. Calgary sits 3rd from the bottom, but they could leapfrog up to as many as 8 teams in the 5 games that they have left if they win it out. So, yeah, if you're Craig Conroy in the Flames, you're looking at this going, okay, if we do a whole bunch of winning from here on out, we are going to downright destroy our chances of getting a top 3 pick. Like right now, and this is why we talked about the importance of being the last place team in the NHL. So you're Calgary. You've had a terrible year. You're 3rd from the bottom. You get 11.5% chance of first overall. That's less than half of what Vancouver has. You get 11.2% chance of second, a 7.8 chance of third, a near 40% chance of fourth, and a near 30% chance of fifth. So you're a 7 out of 10 bet to pick fourth or fifth right now, which keeps you in the Malhotra, Reed, maybe Verhoff territory, right? You win games from here if you're Calgary. Not only are you mostly kissing goodbye your chances of first, second, or third overall, you're leaving open the possibility that you could sink down somewhere closer to 10.
And if you want to talk about unethical, what's unethical is not icing the best lineup available to you.
That is fair.
And the Vancouver Canucks all season long have legitimately dressed what they thought was the best lineup.
Yes.
The Vancouver Canucks are just terrible.
That's right. And we messaged our colleagues there in Calgary and went, no, you guys have this wrong. They're actually trying. They're just this bad. They are an honest 32nd place in the NHL.
And questioning the effort.
That part is fair.
Well, 97%.
That part is fair.
Well, hear me out. 97% of the guys on that roster right now are trying their very best. The other 3% who are dogging it, they were dogging it beforehand. They didn't reserve for dogging it. They weren't trying earlier on in the season. They've never been trying. So,
did you see how the former captain was playing early in the season?
Look at the back checks in October when they were above 500.
Back checks? What are you talking about? It ain't back checking shit.
Can't find something that isn't there. Exactly. How dare you?
Now, previously, Warner had said the Canucks were an unethical tank. That was coming off the 7-3 loss to the Flames a few weeks back. And once again, we had to step in and say, no, guys, that was actually one of their better games of late.
Well,
it was a 4-goal loss where they gave up 7, but they're pretty good that night in comparison to some of these other results we've seen.
Each time they brought it up. So yesterday they bring it up and 3 veterans get sat that night.
Yeah.
Last time they brought it up that night, the Flames got beat 9-2 by the Colorado Avalanche. So guys.
Right. But no, you want to talk about unethical tanks and effort. Hey, 11 shots versus Vegas on Tuesday. Come on. That was one for you never want to see again.
But the other thing,
the Seattle game of a few weeks back. I mean, the Dallas game in early March. There have been a number of games where the Canucks did not put. They were far from their best effort. It was barely even a mediocre effort. So that part of it, Blake, I can understand.
But of course,
if you're looking around and
team,
saying the Flames are giving a professional effort every night and asking the opposition to beat them with something close to their best, whereas the Canucks are too often laying down, that part of it I do understand and I do think is appropriate.
But eventually it gets to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you're this far at the bottom of the standings, when you go down 2-0 in the first period, guess what? The game that you started playing at 100%, you're all of a sudden not playing at 100%. So eventually your spirit does get broken pretty easily.
Yeah. And Vancouver is 6-29-5 over their last 40. 40 is effectively half an NHL season. Canucks have 6 wins. It's a 213 points percentage. It equates to a 35-point pace over 82 games.
But again, they were still talking about the playoffs.
They're bad. They're not that bad. So that is reflective of not nearly enough effort on a night-to-night basis.
They were still talking playoffs post-Quinn Hughes trade, though. So early on in that 40 games that you're talking about, they still have the impossible dream on their brain, still trying to win on a nightly basis. This is just how bad they are.
Yes.
But the other part about if you want to go back to the original unethical thing is, are you screwing over your fans? And as we have polled and talked about and felt with our own pulse here, the market here is fully on board with everything that happened here this year, with the trading away of the veterans, and with the, hey, if you're going to do it, frickin' do it and be 32nd overall. Mm-hmm. The fan base does not feel cheated, I don't think, in that regard. They feel cheated maybe that didn't happen 10 years ago.
The home wins, I think you have every right to feel cheated if you're a season ticket member and you've watched this team win just 8 games at home this year.
Well,
that part, I don't think
goes all the way
fans
back to this time last year when you were telling people you think you have a chance to win, to get into the playoffs the next year. So you get duped. You invested into a team that said they were legitimately trying to make the playoffs, and based on that, you made your investment. So that home record was not good from the start of the year. So you can be upset about that part. But overall, from January 1st on, this market is 100% in lockstep. No, finish last. Do this right. Guarantee yourself a top 3 pick, and they've done that.
All of this comes as the NBA and its board of governors, its owners, are now resolved on a tanking crackdown. And I've already seen Canucks fans worry that the NHL will follow suit just as their team is entering a rebuild and content to collect these high draft picks in exchange for year-to-year futility. Now, the good news is that when Bettman was asked about this a few weeks ago, he didn't anticipate any kind of changes. And I think that's encouraging, but I think it is also born of a little bit of Gary delighting in the fact that the NBA has this big issue on its hand with tanking, and his league doesn't. He loves to, crow on the few victories he gets over other sporting leagues.
Well, to be fair, the most egregious offense that the NBA has seen is not seen at all in the NHL. Like, star players not playing on a given night just 'cause is not a thing in the NHL. And that is a regular thing in the NBA, which is crazy.
Like, there was a game this year, I want to say it was Utah and Brooklyn, where Utah scratched a couple of their best players, and it looked like Brooklyn was going to have a massive advantage in the game. And then, lo and behold, like 3 of Brooklyn's best players didn't play.
Yeah, we don't need to play those guys. We can beat this team without those 2 guys using just these guys. So we're going to do that.
Like, it can't be a do-si-do of let's scratch our best players night to night. The
play
NHL doesn't have that.
We'll play a G League game instead. No.
Exactly. In fact, this talk about cracking down on tanking, which, again, has infiltrated the NHL, even though the NBA is actually looking at it and poised to do something about it. Greg Wyshynski dug up an amusing proposal off Reddit, which demonstrates it's never going to happen, but it demonstrates just how far the anti-tanking debate has gone with unwatchable teams populating the nightly schedule in both the NHL and the NBA,
love this idea.
including your Vancouver Canucks. But one fan believes the NHL should mandate all beers start at a price point of $8. Teams are able to charge an extra 25 cents for a beer with every win, have to lower the price of beer by a quarter with every loss. So as this fan says, elite team, you're paying premium playoff pricing all year. Average team, normal bar pricing. Bad team, cheap night out. Vancouver Canucks, better not be driving home. So the Canucks would be paying you at this point to drink beer at Rogers Arena if this was the proposal. Now, the real proposals themselves in the NBA.
The Colorado Avalanche fans would be paying $21 tonight for a beer. Tomorrow night. There's no games tonight.
There's no games
No
tonight.
games tonight. Make sense of that.
That would still be cheaper than a Canucks beer.
That's
fair.
true. Fair.
That's USD.
Yeah, so it wouldn't, Mike. E's and O's.
Fair enough.
So the one NBA proposal that seems to have the most traction, and there are others that are more complicated. We're not going to get into all of them. But the most straightforward one, the worst 10 teams each get an 8% chance of winning the lottery. And right now the NBA has 4 lotteries.
Yeah.
And then the 8 next worst teams, these would be the play-in teams in the NBA because they have a play-in. They would split the remaining 20% lottery odds in descending order. So the 10 worst teams get the 80% chance. The next 8 worst split the 20% chance in cascading descending.
I mean, you don't know until you've played it out and played it out for probably 10 years to see how people make adjustments. But to me, it feels a little bit like offside in soccer, where wherever you decide the line, that's just where the people try to get to, and
except you're not incentivizing losing all the way to the bottom,
right?
Just to the 10 worst, and of course, if you're not one of the 10 worst,
you're probably competing for.
You're in the play-in, right?
Or just competing.
You're playing postseason basketball.
Or at the very worst, though, in the NHL's format, you're playing till the 82nd game to see if you're in the playoffs.
Right. I mean, we have seen years where all the wild card, all the playoff spots are spoken for with a few games left, but more often than not.
But you're playing nearly to the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And look, just on the surface, and there's always the danger of unintended consequences with these sorts of proposals, but just on the surface, that strikes me as a reasonable and fair proposal given what we've seen in basketball this year.
Yeah.
If teams were more ethical and dignified about their tanks, then I would say there's no need for all of this, because I am still someone, and I know there's many who disagree, but I am still someone who believes in the welfare state, if you will, that believes we should be finding ways via high draft positions to help get the worst teams in the league more competitive. I'm a believer that you're only as strong as your weakest franchise. And if you have teams like the Canucks this year, like we've seen in the NBA in the past, that are just nowhere near even the next worst team, that is not something that's desirable. That is something that I would like to mitigate as much as possible.
Here's the problem with that.
There should be an any given night philosophy baseline for all the North American sports leagues.
Here's the problem that will come up, though, when people bring this up, is a team that has a nice 6-year run with a certain core, they age out and eventually start to trade away guys and are not what they used to be. They sink down to the bottom. But because everybody's got 8% chance, guess what? They are a bad team, and for 3 years in a row, the best pick they get out of that lottery is 6th overall, just because of bad luck. And they don't ever get the franchise player that everybody else ends up getting. So I would say my better fix to that would be something that allows a team a better chance to get 1st overall if they're quite bad. But once you've chosen 1st overall, you are punished for that, and you get sent down the road.
I am also for dispensation, call it the Edmonton Oilers rule.
Yeah.
That you can't have
4
that
or 6
many
years or whatever it is.
Baseball has adopted this rule.
Yeah. But even just once, even like you shouldn't be allowed to have 2 of 4 years. Like even it should last a while here, so you have no incentive to stick around at the cellar. You know, you were given your chance to get the franchise player. You got 1st overall, back of the line, not back of the line, but you know maybe you can't pick any better than 5th overall for 5 years or something like that.
Yeah.
You know,
in fact, baseball has gone quite severe on this rule. You can't pick in the top 10 in consecutive years. Now, the baseball draft is a much bigger crapshoot than the NBA. Almost never does a player in the baseball draft drop into your lineup.
Yeah.
I mean, more often than not, they take several years in the minor leagues. But it is a very rare baseball player. Of course, their draft happens mid-season, but it's a very rare baseball player who either drops in his draft year or even at the beginning of the next year.
All the drafts are very different, aren't they, in terms of what you expect out of them? Like the NBA has immediate roster players, but only for the first, I don't know, what do you say, 10?
Well, the problem the NBA has had a little bit as well is that oftentimes now, I mean, in some draft years, Blake, it's even after the first handful of picks.
Yes, yeah.
In other years, it's a little closer to the end of the lottery. But basketball now, and the baseball guys too, they really put a premium on age. Like 22 is old in
Yeah.
the NBA draft.
Yeah.
Like the kid who led Michigan to the national championship on Monday, Yaxel Lendeborg, he's the same high school class as Cade Cunningham of the Detroit Pistons, who was the first overall several years ago, because these kids have gotten their COVID extra years. Sometimes it's a medical redshirt, gets them another year of eligibility.
And then you begin to question the numbers.
The basketball teams often look at it and say, oh, if I can take an 18 or 19-year-old, we'll take him here at number 7. We'll develop him over the next few years, because if the alternative is a 21 or a 22-year-old, like, I basically have to say, like, where is this kid going to be in 3 or 4 years? And I like his chances of being better than that 21 or 22. And so you draft them, and they basically become practice players for you, Blake, that they are doing their development in scrimmages and practice against your backups until they get to a level where you trust them to play on a regular season floor.
But the baseball draft, you get pretty much 0 Major League Baseball players out of in the first year.
Mm-hmm.
Hockey, 1 to 3 on average, something like that. Basketball, 3 to 10. And then football, you get 40.
Like 150. You're drafting starters in the 4th round.
Yeah. It's funny how it all changes. Yellow Dog time?
Yes, sir.
I want to get back to the Lake Monster West Coast IPA. It's back with Neighborhood Brewing. It's light, it's crispy, it's loaded with Strata and Citra hops. It's on tap and ready to go in the tasting room. It's available in select locations across BC as well. Look for it. The Neighborhood West Coast Lake Monster IPA.
Practice facility news from Kenneth Chan and the Daily Hive. And the headline there, for the first time, the Park Board commissioners have indicated they will consider the involvement of the Vancouver Canucks. Yes, the Vancouver Parks Board has met. They approved a motion, the component of a motion of exploring a, quote, collaboration with the Canucks, including enhancement of the ice rink facilities and renewal of the swimming pool and community center spaces. This, of course, at the Britannia Rink in East Vancouver. There would also be, quote, additional funds from the Canucks, the provincial government, and other sources, according to Chan's report. In fact, earlier this week, Vancouver Parks Board commissioners approved $300 million specifically for the Britannia redevelopment as part of a greater plan. The plan calls for retaining the existing and newly upgraded Britannia Rink. It reopened in February, while adding a 4 to 5 story building and an expansion of approximately 20 to 25,000 square feet. Now, this additional space, conceivably, would be dedicated to Canucks facilities, which would include ice rink or sheet, change rooms, high-performance training, physiotherapy areas, office and media space. And, of course, these are staples of what practice facilities in other NHL and NBA markets have. So, good news on that front. Of course, the Canucks are the only team in the NHL without a practice facility or a firm plan to build one, as Calgary is developing one as part of their new arena on the Stampede grounds there.
I'm dismayed again that there's no double rink there. And I've thought about this more too.
I
see a lot of
there's
facilities.
not a specific double rink, but 20 to 25,000 square feet, like, you've got to put a second sheet of ice in there.
They say they won't. But here's a go-between, as somebody who spends a lot of time in the local rinks. A lot of the private clubs, Hollyburn, North Shore Winter Club, I don't know if Burnaby Winter Club has it, but North Shore Winter Club has 2 of these. They're mini rinks. They're basically half-sized rinks. Allows you to teach all the way up to U10. In fact, you can even have U10 games on them. They are super useful. And you might think, what would an NHL team have used for a secondary ring? Goaltending drills, guys rehabbing. Like, it would still be useful. And you could, if the Canucks are practicing, maybe the community's using the mini rink while the Canucks are using the big sheet. There's double use. So even if you can't wedge in the full size, go with the small rink.
Okay.
It'll still have use for both the NHL team and for the community.
Like, if you're doing 20 to 25,000 extra square feet here, I'm sorry, but that second sheet of ice has to be the priority. Like all this other stuff, office and media space, like with apologies to my colleagues,
Yeah, that's fewer and
that's
farther
nice
between.
to do.
Yeah.
That's not need to do.
But also that stuff can be up in the air. Like that stuff doesn't need to be ground level
Like
with a window.
If you're not putting a second sheet of ice there, you're not doing a practice
No,
facility.
you're not. And for people that don't know this,
You
look
don't
around
understand
the NHL, there's
the
3 and
exercise.
4 rink practice facilities in a lot of the other markets.
Yeah.
Never mind 2. Like LA, what does LA got? Like 4 or 5 there in the Toyota Center. Like it's unfortunate that there's going to be a settling after all of this and being so picky. If they end up with one rink, they're still settling.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, and particularly if, as Chan reports, you've got other people funding this, then it, again, looks like you're trying to do it on the cheap, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like $300 million has been earmarked for even more Britannia upgrades. They've just gone through upgrades. Place was closed for 2 years going through upgrades. So anyways, we'll continue to track that story. Canucks lose 4-1 in L.A. last night. Marcus Paterson scores the team's only goal in his 600th NHL game. Brock Besser and Liam Ogren with the assists there. Tolopilo starts and loses again. Vancouver into San Jose tomorrow to face the pride of North Vancouver, Macklin Celebrini.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, Kiefer Sherwood. Now, the Sharks' playoff push is probably dead now. They lost consecutive games this week to Edmonton and to Anaheim. They are 4 points back with 3 teams to jump and just 4 games remaining. So it doesn't look like it's going to happen for the Sharks. Sherwood will be facing the Canucks for the first time tomorrow. Of course, when he was traded, there was a game shortly thereafter against the Sharks, but he was injured and wasn't able to play. He has 6 goals and 10 points in the 24 games since the trade. And as JPat notes, he is still hitting people. Boy, does he hit people. He's, again, more than doubling up. Like, hits used to be a very untrustworthy stat because in the difference of definition of a hit rink to rink. We used to go into Washington, and Brendan Witt would come out of the game with like 10 to 12 hits, and you'd be like, goodness gracious, if you breathe on someone in Washington, that's a hit, whereas in other rinks, they took a very stricter line in terms of what constituted a hit. But anyways, Sherwood continues just to be the most physical player hitting everybody, which is, again, a two-edged sword, right?
His goal scoring has gone
Means
down.
You don't have the puck, but yes,
his
he's
goal
hitting
scoring
people.
has gone down. He's got 6 and 24. He had 17 and 44 for the Canucks.
But he's 23 goals and 33 points on the season.
That's sort of what he is, I think.
Yeah. Vancouver and Anaheim Sunday. Ducks third in the Pacific Division. They are on the wrong side of a tiebreaker with Vegas right now. They are 1 point back of Edmonton for first place. Can we just get back to this dark schedule tonight? No, I don't know about you folks. And look, sometimes the weather complicates things where you just go to hell with it. I want to be outside, hit up a beach or whatever. But for me, I don't watch a ton of out-of-market games in the NHL regular season in the early going. But the final month of the season and the playoff push is when I want to watch these games. I have found myself watching a lot of Sharks games of late, in part because Macklin's very arresting, but also I wanted to see if these young Sharks could close the deal. I found myself watching Ottawa Senators games. Grew up in that market. They made their playoff push. Of course, our old friend Travis Green, coaching that team, has done a hell of a job. Flyers, too. Flyers have been a great story here of late in their playoff push. I've found Detroit, the Islanders with Schaefer. I have found myself stopping on games with all of these teams and sitting there and watching them because of the implications. How do you have a dark night at this time of year?
I have no excuses for them here. There's no long weekend that demands this, I don't think. Like, you just came off of the Easter long weekend, for heaven's sakes. Why are you going dark on a Friday night At any time of the year.
At any time of the year, because here's the thing. Typically, there's more competition on Saturdays and Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there are some teams that prefer Saturdays, Sundays. They don't want the Friday night games. But like they do in the NFL with Monday, and nobody wants to play Thursday night football. They do in the CFL. Nobody wants to play. Very few teams want to play on Thursday night.
Yep.
You got to take your turn. You got to take your lumps. And do one for the greater good. So, yeah, that's very disappointing. I'm going to get home from dinner tonight. There's not a hockey game.
I was just thinking, like, what are we going to watch here?
We're going
Again,
to watch the Masters. Brock
repeat
Besser.
golf, really, in the evening? Tape delayed golf? Nah. Live. You need live.
It's Augusta, Blake. Brock Besser is the Canucks nominee for the King Clancy Trophy. It's awarded annually to the player who best exemplifies leadership on and off the ice. Every team gets one. We mentioned Kevin Lankinen, the Masterton nominee for the Canucks. There's the list of King Clancy Memorial Trophy nominees. Somehow Jack Hughes is the New Jersey nominee. Like the entitled little brat is your nominee for, quote, the player who best exemplifies leadership on and off the ice. How many? There's what, 2 or 3 instances where Jack Hughes has had to do damage control this year, including one where his mom, Ellen, had to step in and do the Today Show? Come on. Are you kidding me?
What's the difference between the King Clancy and the Mark Messier? Superior leader within the sport. Not much difference there.
The real difference is the King Clancy should exist. The Mark Messier shouldn't.
It goes without saying. Seems a little redundant. They're reluctant to split up the Norris Trophy, but
I even have friends like in Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal who aren't as familiar with Messier's Vancouver Canucks chapter who look at it and went, isn't he hated in a market? Like, didn't he go in, strip the C off a legendary player, ask for a dead guy's number, and basically set the market on fire, and we're naming a league trophy after him?
very odd.
We got a super chat here. Those of you on YouTube, that super chat button always available to you. Hit it. Half proceeds to the BC Mental Health Foundation. We'll get it on the show, promise. This is from Greg, who says, gents, I've been thinking about the Kraft Hockeyville result all week. NHL and Bettman tone deaf and missed the plot. A great PR opportunity lost. Greg, we talked about this on Monday. And we said, this one is so obvious that even Canucks Sports Entertainment should understand and fix it.
Yeah.
So far, we've heard nothing, but that doesn't mean something isn't to come.
Amazingly, this one's not the Canucks' fault, but they can be a part of the solution.
They can be a part of the solution. And, of course, it would bring them this thing that they don't completely understand, goodwill. But, yes, Tumbler Ridge lost out to Tabor in the final of the Kraft Hockeyville. Now, they're still going to get $100,000 for arena upgrades. They're just not going to get the full pull $250,000.
But make it whole. Just
exactly.
top it up.
You know, if the NHL is too blind to this and doesn't understand how stupid it was to have two communities who have been affected by school shootings, because there was one in Tabor and 25 years ago, pitting them against each other. Like Jeff always makes this point about the Masterton too. Like, you're asking me to pit a cancer survivor versus another player who's had an incredible hardship, and how does one even vote on that? I think the same. And look, Kraft is the first one who dropped the ball here. Like, whoever is running this for Kraft, and it is such a big campaign that I imagine there are dedicated people there. How in the hell was there not a Kraft boardroom meeting where somebody said, guys, like, we're going to have a loser here who has been through the trauma of a school shooting and a dead child. One in Tabor. 8 people died in Tumbler Ridge. Let's not do this. Like, let's get a PR win and say you're both winners. You're both getting $250,000.
Or even would anybody scream if they said, you know what?
Or even the NHL, because Gary faced this and read and announced the winner. Like, how did the NHL say, listen?
Yeah, crowdfund it amongst the sponsors and make it work. But even if you said, guys, rather than $250 to the winner, how about you both get $200? And like, would anybody cry foul there? Oh, you're shortchanging us.
And you're telling me organizations like Kraft and the NHL can't find another extra $150K?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? So just dropped ball. But again, like the NHL, Gary, they don't think fans. They don't think people. They think dollars. All three Canucks CHL prospects who are still engaged in the postseason open their second-round series tonight. Braden Coots, the first-round pick last year, and the Prince Albert Raiders take on the Saskatoon Blades. They have home ice advantage as the top seed in the Eastern Conference of the WHL. Port Moody's Parker Alcos and the Kelowna Rockets, they get going tonight against Landon Dupont in the Everett Silvertips south of the line. Dupont, of course, the presumptive first overall in the 2027 draft. And then high effort, high energy winger Gabe Sherrod and the Kitchener Rangers, the top seed in the OHL, take on the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. And of course, we mentioned Chase Reed, that defenseman who could very well go third overall, is a party to that series in the OHL playoffs. So Dave Hall, Tyson Cole, all our friends at Canucks Army will be charting the progress of these three Canucks prospects. And remember, their new Blackfish Prospect Show, which goes every Wednesday on the Nation Network on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Show just launched this week. All the best to Dave and Tyson. And you're going to want to tune in on Wednesdays. Okay. It is time now for our menu. It's brought to you by our friends at Greta. Greta, fantastic spot to pregame or postgame. You are mere steps from the arena or the stadium, and there is a game at the stadium on Saturday. It is also a perfect spot for your next private shindig. They have a riser at the back of the bar where it will fit all your guests. You got televisions around you. You can put whatever game or games you want. There's a dedicated bar back there. There's an arcade in the bar. It is so much fun. Pop a shot. My brother and I played NBA Jam the last time we were there.
So
Do you
good.
remember?
He's
NBA
on fire.
Exactly. The ball catches fire and ignites the hoop.
2-on-2.
2-on-2. Our rule was you weren't allowed to play with the Bulls.
Who was on the Miami Heat? Shaved head guy?
Are we talking about Harold Baby Jordan Minor?
Yeah.
Dunk contest
Harold
winner?
Minor was great.
Was
at
Alonzo
NBA
Mourning
Jam.
with him as well?
Yeah,
Maybe
you could choose
somebody else?
Alonzo. Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, check out Greta for your private function for more info. Or to book your event, go to gretabar.com. Greta 50 West Cordova. Let the games begin. We got Marek here.
Marek.
Jeff Marek is going to join us. We'll talk all things Canuck. He's actually going on a BC roadie this weekend. And you folks in Penticton and Kelowna are probably going to catch up with him at some point, especially if you're at the rink. Jeff is doing a series of features on junior hockey teams. They're going to do one on the Penticton Vs, who are still engaged in these WHL playoffs. They faced Prince George, all BC series there. Vs had a spectacular first season in the WHL, moving on up from the BCHL. And, of course, Kelowna, as we mentioned, taking on Everett. So Jeff's going to be in BC, more than all weekend into next week. So looking forward to his exploits there. In fact, those of you in Penticton may see him at Yellow Dog or Neighborhood on the weekend. In fact, I would be surprised if you don't see him there. And then JPat will stop by. We'll talk off-season change. Let's talk about the Kraken putting some pressure on the Canucks, right? With Todd Lewicki and what he had to say yesterday about accepting the total failure, falling on the sword, our fans deserve better. All the sorts of things you typically hear from teams that fail to meet expectations or their goals.
That aren't afraid of accountability.
Right. Later in the program, the Whitecaps are back at it at BC Place. The Canadian women's national team is also in action this weekend. Vancouver Canadians are on the board. They're home all week, so check them out. Plus some golf talk from the Masters where Robert McIntyre was a naughty boy.
He let his fingers do the talking.
You're number one. Time now for our Bet365.
By the way, it was Glenn Rice I was thinking of. But
Glenn Rice.
Him and Harold Minor together on NBA Jam. You got a three-point shooter. You got a dunker. It was great.
Did you see the Glenn Rice story this week?
No.
There were reports that Glenn Rice, as a star forward for the University of Michigan Wolverines, who won their last national championship in '89 down the road here in Seattle, that Glenn Rice had a tryst with former vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin during the Alaska Shootout basketball tournament.
Really?
He was at Michigan.
When he was
in
in
the
Michigan.
late 80s.
Oh,
Yes.
my gosh. Okay.
It was funny because somebody sent me a Glenn Rice photo on Monday ago. The last time they won, it was a beautiful. He was the Final Four MVP.
Well, she would have been age appropriate
Yeah,
at that
exactly.
time.
And, Rice was truly one of the beautiful shooters in the end. It's just a textbook jump shot.
Absolutely.
Like just a little bunny hop, just gorgeous jump
Him
shot.
and Ray Allen.
And Governor Palin, then television reporter Palin,
Right.
apparently was smitten.
I'm going to go to I did not get my 30 saves out of Nikita Tolopilo. Close. There's
I got my under. We were under
Did
6
you?
goals. Yeah.
Yeah, good for you. You want to go then? Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I've got the T.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'm looking at the Whitecaps game tomorrow, and oh my God, are odds makers giving the Whitecaps a ton of credit, huh? I mean, they're 5-1 and a very good team, don't get me wrong. They're a massive favorite, minus 154 favorite tomorrow against a good NYCFC team. And you're telling me, or I'm told, that NYCFC plays a similar style to the Whitecaps, one the Caps haven't seen this year, one they may have some problems with. And here's the other thing. You can bet both the tie and New York to win and still make bank. So give me the visitors tomorrow at plus 400 and the tie at plus 310. It's the old Don Taylor special. Bet against the team you're rooting for.
You're happy regardless of what happens. We're not happy there's no NHL games, of course. And what would it have taken the National Hockey League in its infinite wisdom to finagle the schedule so that, I don't know, Alex Ovechkin plays Sidney Crosby in his last game tonight rather than at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon? Like, would you not have watched that on a national standalone game?
Hell yeah.
Would you not? Vegas and Colorado tomorrow night. I'd watch that tonight. Oh, my God.
Pittsburgh does play. Oh, that's Sunday. Yeah, I'm just looking. Does anybody play back-to-back? Do they have anybody scheduled back-to-back?
Well, nobody's playing tonight.
Pittsburgh and Washington play back-to-back.
Well,
they play
perfect.
Saturday and Sunday.
Perfect. They did enjoy the day off
They
then.
could have played tonight.
Yeah.
You could have put one tonight.
Unbelievable.
Vegas.
It's going to be a fun one. Vegas versus Colorado. Not because Vegas is near the team they usually are when they take on the Colorado Avalanche.
Big game for Torts.
But it's a big game. Big consequences for them. They need it, and you get some action there. Plus 120 on the Vegas Golden Knights.
Not all games are created equal. Every sports fan will tell you this. Sometimes the excitement just isn't there. Sometimes you get a dud. It happens. In fact, we've had more than our fair share here in this market this season. But at Bet365, boring games are a thing of the past. Now, there's always a reason to tune in, even if the score isn't one of them. And while they can't make every game exciting, they can help fans get excited about every game. Bet365. Download the app today. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Marek, next. So Carson Price from the Historic Wall Center.
This segment brought to you by your Pacific Toyota dealers, where you'll find, I believe you'll find, I would rush to see if you'll find, a Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid. They are the belle of the ball these days with the gas prices exorbitant. You're thinking, yeah, but you said hybrid. It still requires gas. Well, get 72 kilometers of electric every single morning you wake up. Unless it's a big day, you're pretty much driving an electric car.
Just plug it in at home overnight, regular charger. Don't need anything special, regular plug.
But the gas tank's there for the road trips. It's all just there on a platter for you with a great cockpit. It's super fun car to drive. Take one for a test drive. ShopToyota.ca. Red tag days are on now.
Here's Jeff Marek of The Sheet daily on the Nation Network, and he is planning a BC hockey adventure starting this weekend. Hello, fella.
I am. Hello. I'm doing well. I'm excited. My sister lives on the island, so she lives in Duncan. So any chance I get to BC, I always cherish. I always say the same thing when I leave. As I look around, I always say to myself, why would anyone ever want to leave British Columbia? Why would you choose?
They don't.
I would come back and I look around and there's no mountains here and there's no water. And I'm just, every time I go to BC, I come back saying the same thing. How quickly can I go back out? So finally, we're doing this. Did a bunch of features with CHL teams. We've done the Bulldogs, we've done the Rangers in the OHL, and now we're doing Penticton Saturday, Sunday, Kelowna Monday, Tuesday. So very much. I haven't been to Kelowna since.
How many playoff games do you get to see?
Oh, jeez. Two. One for each.
One
team.
each. Okay.
Yeah, two playoff games. So looking forward to that. And Kelowna's gorgeous, as you guys well know. I've never been to Penticton.
Oh,
it's going to be my first time in Penticton, so I'm looking forward to that.
Buddy.
You're gonna love
And all over
my
BC,
goodness.
but haven't made it to Penticton. I know,
Oh,
it's
my
great.
goodness.
I actually prefer it to Kelowna. It's more quaint.
Well, everybody
Really?
prefers
Yeah.
it, unless you live in Kelowna.
Yeah.
In some cases, Penticton looks untouched by time.
It does. In some places, it's 1968.
Except downtown, our friends at Yellow Dog and Neighborhood have really spearheaded a revitalization, and it is fantastic now down there with some great eateries and beverage establishments. The South Okanagan Event Center is a true treasure arena across the country. It is home to the BC Hockey Hall of Fame, so make sure you spend some time in the gallery there, and just fantastic hockey fans there, and they are so geeked about being in the WHL this year. Jeff, think of this.
Sure.
Champagne hockey problems. The hockey folk in Penticton were getting a little tired of winning in the BCHL with the Vs. Like, we would hear from our friends there, shout out Dave and Scotty. They'd say, we'd go, but, we'd last two periods. It was 6-1, so then we'd make our way to the bar at the second. There was no threat of losing there in the BCHL.
Right.
And Fred Harbinson has done a magnificent job in transitioning that team to Major Junior.
So all they did was transition all the winning to the Western Hockey League and set records along the way. Like Fred's going to be one of the people that we sit down with and talk to. One of the most interesting guys in all of junior hockey, as you well know. So looking forward to that and looking forward to getting to Penticton and maybe denting a chair or bench at Yellow Dog along the way.
Yes, absolutely. And the other thing for you is because you're such a big hockey history guy, you're going to want to check out the V's Monument that is right there by the old Penticton Arena, not far from the South Okanagan Event Center, which commemorates the 1955 world champion Penticton V's, all these 70 years later, right? And they're still talking about that team and representing them right there in the center of town. So you'll have a blast.
They do make wine there, too. So
Indeed.
I've heard.
That could keep you occupied as well. Yeah.
Yes, I've a rumor tells me, that
And
Okanagan is well known.
Well, and the other thing is you're going to see some pretty good hockey series there. I mean, Kelowna and Everett against Landon Dupont, right? Teach Ginla, Landon Dupont. That has got some star power. And then Penticton, Prince George. And, of course, you get to see Carson Carels, the top flight defenseman in this draft. So you're going to see some good players, some good hockey series there.
Carels may be a top 5 pick. Landon Dupont, the presumptive, and we'll see what happens with that kid in St. John with the Sea Dogs. But the presumptive favorite to go first overall next year, as we all know. I'm looking forward to it. I have not seen Landon Dupont play live yet, so very much looking forward to that. I've seen TJ Ginla. Actually, I saw TJ Ginla at was it the Shanahan tournament. It might have been Silver Stick a few years ago in Whitby, and when he was playing in Boston, and Jerome McGinley was the coach too. So that rink was heavily scouted. And I was like, look, that's Iggy behind the bench. And his kid was full value because he is, and he's going to be a big piece of the Utah Mammoth future, which now includes playoffs for that team as they most recently
while we're
clinched.
talking while we're talking about superstar defensemen, if I can segue here, gentlemen.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw Quinn Hughes set the Minnesota Wild scoring record.
In like 13 games.
Yeah, he only got there in December. I saw Colby Kosh retort, though, in the last 47 NHL games, Evan Bouchard actually has 62 points, 10 more than Quinn Hughes. And then I went and looked at the defenseman scoring this year. Like, there's a lot of defensemen with 70-plus points this year. Like, as much as the forwards are a little depressed in terms of 50 goal scorers and 100-point guys, the defensemen have really brought up the pack here.
Yeah, everybody jumps, everybody joins the rush, everybody's involved in the offense. Excuse me. Evan Bouchard's kind of been, outside of Edmonton and probably all of Western Canada, I find that everyone just sort of buying into that Evan Bouchard stereotype from the past couple of seasons. Oh, he's a turnover machine. He's a turnover machine. And it's like, watch an Oilers game. Watch how often the puck is on this guy's stick. And when the puck is on your stick as often as it is with Evan Bouchard, are there going to be turnovers? Of course they're going to be turnovers. But when you start playing the percentages, like if he costs you 4 scoring chances and he creates 15 scoring chances, with percentages like that, you win every hockey game that you are in. Like he's gonna, obviously he's getting Norris votes, but he's right in there in that. He's a great passer. Elite level passer, doesn't panic either, has just a bomb of a shot, as we all know from the point, both for scoring. And here's the other thing that more teams have been down with the last however many years now, just shooting to make rebounds. And Bouchard is excellent at that. Like you look at, like that's always been the calling card of Peter DeBoer. DeBoer's defensemen it's always been shoot to make rebounds, and DeBoer always likes big forwards around the net just to bang in those raccoon goals. Evan Bouchard's amongst the elite at doing that too. Just get it through and just make a rebound. Like the other part I think of it too is, I think we've had this conversation. I most recently talked to Kitchener Rangers coach Jussi Ahokas, Finnish coach. He'll be in the NHL one day, about this. The idea that the whole game is just evolving to being positionless anyhow. That you are where you are on the face-off, and then after that, regardless of your position, it doesn't matter. The mantra is possession over position. Don't get married to it. Whoever's closest to the puck, whether it's a left winger's assignment and you're a lefty, well, I'm sorry. Guess what? That's now your assignment, and that's how everything is evolving. So probably shouldn't come to us any surprise as the NHL now, like every other league, evolving towards being positionless, and that's why we're seeing more defensemen putting up the significant points. My question is, how do we evaluate defensemen now?
Yeah.
Like when it comes time to voting for the Norris, like where is the world for the Jacob Slavins of the NHL?
Many think we need a new award for that, Jeff. Many think we need the Larry Robinson Defensive Defenseman Award.
Yeah. Awards are marketing, so I'm all for it. Then the more awards you have, the more marketing you can do around them. But I've got ears for that. I'm happy to listen to that one. I'm fine.
But as you said,
incidentally, Blake and I went to the 2018 draft in Dallas thinking Evan Bouchard could very well be a Vancouver Canuck, because we didn't think Quinn Hughes was going to last to number 7, right? And then Arizona took Barrett Hayton, and Detroit took Philip Zadina, and he landed in his lap. We had a very thick Evan Bouchard file ready to go at that draft, including the fact that his sister was a school teacher here in Vancouver. That's what we were planning to talk to him about that when he sat down.
You had it all set.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know who probably hasn't pushed his way out of Vancouver by this point in his career? Evan Bouchard. He's probably still a Vancouver Canuck. But you know what the defensive award does, though, is it then sort of corroborates or supports the theory that possession doesn't matter. And of course, many will say, people like Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar and Evan Bouchard to a degree as well, because they have the puck so much, that is being defensive in and of itself.
Fair.
So further to that, the best way to play defense is not have the puck in your zone. And that's always been the Erik Karlsson dilemma. Like, that was always the Erik Karlsson discussion. Oh, well, look at him in his own zone. Too much of a soft touch. It's like he gets the puck out really efficiently, right? And then when he's in the offensive zone, he's magical. Isn't the whole idea, if you're a defender, puck goes in, puck goes out? Well, it really is. So then from that point of view, then all of a sudden you're saying to yourself, maybe we don't need to split this trophy. But again, I'll keep coming back to it. Where's the world? Like, where's the award for people that have the same skill set as Jacob Slavin? You guys will recall, they essentially created the Selke Trophy because they had to make something for Bob Gainey.
Yes.
Like, that was, man, Bob has like this one unique skill set. Like, oh, gee, we don't have an award. We need to create some best defensive forward. Okay, there you go. Done. And it was essentially made for Bob Gainey.
Why don't we name it after Gainey?
Bob Gainey was a what's that? I'm fine with that.
Why don't we name it
I'm
after?
fine with naming it after.
Why don't we, like, we've changed the name of other trophies, right? It's now the Ted Lindsay. It used to be the Lester B. Pearson. We've created the Rocket Richard Trophy for the goal scorer. There's a great story about when the Russian coaches came over in the 70s and they saw Gainey and they were mind-blown because they had never seen a forward play that way, and it got them to rethink some of the ways that they coached hockey, and particularly the defensive side of the puck.
Victor Tikhonov,
that's
massive fan of Bob Gainey.
Bob Gainey.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we told the story earlier this week about when he let Craig Button go to Calgary as the GM, but he said, Craig, you've got all our draft intel, and we think it's only fair that you give us the Calgary list so that, we're all fair here. And at the end of the draft, Bob returned him the Calgary list in an unopened envelope. Like, that's how class act Bob Gainey is. Okay. We got to move on to the Canucks here. Can we talk some Canucks here, please, Blake?
We can talk some Canucks.
Right. Let's go. Yeah.
How do you feel about standing pat at Poho GM head coach? Because that was floated here this week.
So here's like many of us. First of all, the Vancouver Canucks, much like any other Canadian team, has about 30 million general managers in Canada. Mm-hmm. And everyone's got an opinion on how things should be done. Where I'm at now with Vancouver in this rebuild is, if the organization doesn't see you as being here long term at this point, then you shouldn't be here. That's where I'm at with Vancouver, and I that goes for president of hockey operations, general manager, assistant manager, head coach, all of it. If the plan is for you to be here long term, then you stay. If not, you go. Because the last thing you want, and this is most profound from the player's point of view at the coaching position, the last thing you want is this sort of stop and start or sort of bunny hop race when you're trying to redo your program. Like, there needs to be a consistency year to year. So, Jim Rutherford, you're in the Hall of Fame. That's wonderful. But I don't think anyone thinks that Jim Rutherford is here long term. So it's time. Ryan Johnson, I think we can all see Ryan Johnson being here long term. Patrick Allvin, there's a question. Do you see Patrick Allvin being here long term? If the answer is yes, he stays. If the answer is no, then I think you find another address. And then one of the trickier ones, I suppose, since we've been here in Vancouver for one season, is what do you do with Adam Foote? And there's a couple of questions there. One, do you see him long term? And B, is he the right coach for your kids? Because you're at a place now where you're only asking one question, right? Like, you're going to get to a place that really in earnest starts next season, where you're only asking one question. And that question is, are the kids getting better? Doesn't matter about wins. Doesn't matter about losses. Are the kids getting better? That is the one question for the Vancouver Canucks starting next season. Now, wins along the way are certainly helpful, and you want your kids to be able to feel what, as long as you can, full NHL schedule is. So as close as you can get to 82. Like, I still think this is a really successful season for the San Jose Sharks. You know, as young as they are and they're falling off, and Edmonton really showed them who the big dogs were the other. Still, this is a valuable season because now all those kids know what 82 games is going to feel like. They get it. But next year, the question is, are the kids getting better? And everything you do, if you're the Vancouver Canucks, is in service of that. Long-winded answer, Maddie. If you're here long-term,
Yep.
like if you're seen as being here long-term, then you stay. What do you think about
subscribe?
that?
Do you subscribe to the theory that multiple coaches for young players stunts them in any way? That was always the worry with Connor McDavid. He's had so many coaches. I think he's been fine.
Seems okay.
He seems okay. They haven't won a cup, but I don't think that's Connor McDavid's fault. Coots and McKenna, whoever, are going to be here next year, you would think. Does it matter that coach is only there for 18 months, 2 years, or maybe 1 year, and then has to hear your voice?
It depends on the player. Like for Connor McDavid, and he's never complained about it. For Connor McDavid, I mean, he's Connor McDavid. He's right this way to the Hockey Hall of Fame. But I can recall a conversation that I had with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins a few years ago, and that was one of the first things he said. He's like, we just want consistency here. We just want consistency behind the bench because every 18 months we have a new coach and a new idea and a new philosophy and a new way to play and a new voice and a new voice. And actually, now that I think about it, Doug McLean at a morning skate when he was with the Detroit Red Wings was pulled aside by Steve Yzerman and said, Doug, come here for a second. And Doug went over to Yzerman, and Yzerman started to rattle down a list of all the coaches that he had with the Detroit Red Wings, culminating with Doug alongside Brian Murray, who was the head coach at that point. Doug was the assistant coach. And then Yzerman rattled off like 5 or 6 coaches, Nick Polano and et cetera, Demers, and then settled into, can you imagine how good a player I'd be if I only had one? And Doug said, I didn't know what to say to Steve. So I don't think that there's a blanket statement you can make, like you need to have one coach for X amount of years for all your young players. I think it's better for them to have that consistency of voice. I don't think it matters really for a Connor McDavid.
As long as he's the right coach.
Overall.
Right?
As long as he's the right coach and those players know that he's going to be here for more than 5 minutes.
The other thing that was floated here this week is the idea of reassigning Patrick Allvin within the organization, since you'll be paying him anyways.
Why? No. For some positions, yeah. For general manager, no. No. Like he's either someone that that's a position where you either want him or you don't. That's not like, well, you know what, you can do something else here now. No. That's one of those you either want him or you don't. No thanks. Maybe I'm too old school about this, guys, but the GM position is you're either in or you're out. So I'm not picking up on that one whatsoever. That might just be me.
Patrick Allvin probably isn't either.
I counted 3
I
Ys
can't
and
see
about
Patrick
7
Allvin.
no's there. That was more
I think
no's
I'm pretty
than
emphatic about that one.
we
Well, who
used
would
to
think
get
that was a good idea? Who would think that
exactly.
would?
Well, the
Who
owner,
would think that
'cause
would be a
he's-
good idea? I know, I get it. Like squeeze the
because it
beaver on the
makes
nickel
the
till
owner
it
feel
squeals.
good that he's paying someone to do something as opposed to paying someone to do nothing.
You know what?
And
When we're all in high school and we're working at like a restaurant or a donut shop, if you have time to lean, you have time to clean. Like, okay, that works when you're like 17 years old, but like these are grown men here, and I understand that, there are some ownership groups that, squeeze the beaver on the nickel until it squeals. And I understand that. I want to get every single drop out of the dime. I get it. But still,
I've
Also,
never heard that expression, but it's a good one.
Ask Lawrence Gilman how much he did in his final year when he was kept under Jim Benning. He was kept here, and it was a pretty
there's a lot of
lean
that.
year.
There's a lot of that. When people get inherited in the final year of their contract. Incidentally, I think he might have just set a record for no's in a single answer on Carson Price. And that is actually saying something because we used to do a weekly hit with Wally Buono. And Wally had this thing where if he disagreed with the premise of your question, he would just get a no until you stopped talking. And then it was his turn. And then he would correct you.
That's awesome.
All right.
Great. I love it.
So how about this, Jeff Marek?
Uh-oh.
Blake Price has the Easter egg for today. So we're teammates here, my dude.
So wait a minute. So you're my lifeline here. Okay.
We got here via Ryan Johnson, who, as you know, is was a very light scoring player in the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
But ended up having a fairly lengthy career in the National Hockey League of
701 games.
701 games.
122 points. 21 his career high. He averaged 0.174 points per game. But got to 700 games, Jeff. Like, that's what we were saying. Ryan Johnson must have something special about him if you can be, like, truly just a fourth line forward, no ceiling, and still get to 700 NHL games.
So our question is, who with 700 games on their resume has the lowest career high for points in the season? The lightest scoring forward in a single season. So having played 700 games.
Wow.
I also researched some Easter eggs in this realm, so I think I know the answer, but I'm going to let Jeff Marek play it out here.
There are two categories, the overall champ, and then there's going to be an asterisk I'll get to after you make a first guess.
Okay. Jeff, I think
the first name that pops to my mind is Matt Cullen.
Matt Cullen, he had some prolific years, didn't he?
I know. I'm just thinking, like, that's the first thing that popped into my mind is bottom six guy that stuck around for a long, long time.
Yeah, but he had 49-point seasons, scored 25 goals.
If you're a 29-point, if you're a 40, Jeff, I think you want to think enforcer here.
Is it?
I think you want to think enforcer here. Based on my research in this space,
that's the asterisk I was talking about.
I think you want to think enforcer.
There's an enforcer category and a non-enforcer category.
Yeah, very good, Blake. And Jeff,
so
would the
enforcer be Craig Berube?
No, he was sort of in the vicinity, but no.
Craig Berube.
It's not going to be Dale Hunter. It's not going to be Tiger Williams.
Craig Berube is the lowest scoring player with 1,000 games all time. 1,054 games for Craig Berube, 159 career points. It is 0.15 points per game.
This guy is a little bit more modern than a tiny bit more modern than Berube, probably.
So it's 700 plus games with what?
The lowest career high of points in a season.
Okay. So I did the 8 players with 8 forwards with 1,000 games and less than 300 career points. I'm going to guess Blake's answer is on my list.
Yeah, it's on the list, I'm sure.
Are we talking enforcer here, or are we talking checker?
I've got it. I've got both categories.
Okay.
Is Joe Kocur? Is it Joe Kocur?
No. A little more modern than that.
I am going to take a swing here on the enforcer side with ex-Canuck Donald Brashear.
No.
Okay.
Ty Domi.
Nope.
That was my next guess. Chris Neal.
Nope.
Brad May.
Nope.
Oh, boy.
Wow. Louis DeBrusque.
Nope.
Are you calling Cal Clutterbuck an enforcer?
Nope.
Oh, wow. I'm out here. I have 2 checkers on my list. Trevor Lewis.
Nope.
Wow. This is, I think you got both of us here.
Kirk Maltby.
Okay, in the enforcer category, think Halloween costumes.
Oh, Boogeyman. Boogaard.
More scary than that.
More scary than Boogaard.
Means death. What character means death? The physical incarnation of death.
Oh, Stu Grimson. Stu Grimson.
Stu.
Grim Reaper.
Grimson.
Yeah. Okay. Really? Okay, Stu. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Career high of 10 points in a season.
Oh my gosh.
He had a great back and forth with Dave Brown once. Oh boy.
Yeah, Dave Brown's on this list too.
You don't
Okay.
say.
All right.
The non-enforcer list is so this would be somebody with under 900 penalty minutes in their career, and it's a walk away for Jeff Finley.
Really?
Yeah.
I
He played
never
700
would've guessed.
games?
Yes, he did.
Holy
I
cow.
never would have guessed that Jeff
Never would have
Finley
got
suited
that.
up for
Never would have got
700
that.
games.
That was too
How
hard.
many points did he get?
Wow.
Wow.
Career high of 83 points and a career high of 11 points in a season.
If I can give you some advice as a virginous Easter egg maker here, Blake, that was too hard. You needed to go up the
No, I
games
liked
played
it.
total because
No,
700
but I liked
games
it.
brings the Jeff Finleys into play.
Seven
Who
was a-
remembers
yeah.
the Jeff Finley?
It's a lot of games, though. That's a decent career.
My list with Berube, Brashear, like Domi,
Anyway,
Clutterbuck.
we came upon this,
No,
this
but
question
here's-
organically because we saw Ryan Johnson totals. We're like, wow, that's a lot of games, and that's a low amount of points.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So how many was it
Well,
for
I mean-
Crimson? 10
10.
10 points?
11 for Finley. Wow.
All right, Jeff.
You know
We'll
what
be
though?
easier next
But here's
week.
why I liked it. Here's why I liked that one. Because when I woke up this morning, I assure both of you, the last name that I thought I was going to hear today was Jeff Finley.
Yeah, ditto.
Like this is why I always say to people, at the end of the day, it's your job to stay alive. Just stay alive and you'll hear and you will see some weird things. I never thought, and kudos to Blake, I never thought that when I woke
saw
up this
some weird
morning,
things today.
someone
Jeff.
would say Jeff Finley to me, but there it
I
was.
did research in this space, and I didn't think I would hear Jeff Finley. Enjoy Penticton and Kelowna. We're going to set you up with our
Thanks.
friends at Yellow Dog and Neighborhood, all right?
I'm going.
Okay,
I'm
we
going.
want to see
I'm going.
photos.
Dog
We want to
neighborhood.
see you post, all right? We want a
Done.
full recap next week.
I'm doing a full photo documentary on Twitter X this weekend. Thanks, boys.
Thanks, buddy.
Secure some price from the Historic Wall Center.
I have the kids alone today
Oh, boy.
and my niece and nephew.
Oh, dear God.
It's going to be a pizza day.
Indeed. To the rescue.
I need their help.
Mm-hmm.
And I also know that it's going to arrive.
Plus, the niece and nephew are young enough that the garlic dipper in the center is an activity for them.
It's true. The volcano dipper will have them transfixed
Mm-hmm.
on the pizza. It's an activity and it's food all at the same time.
Play with your food.
And speaking of time, they'll give you that estimated delivery time. If it's not there by that time, it's free. Pizza. Give them a call today.
Here's Jeff Paterson, our Canucks reporter, the host of RinkWide Vancouver, which is counting down to the end of the year. Hi, Jeff.
Hello, fellas.
That's a really good attitude right there. Those first two words. I'm proud of you, Jeff. That's good. After the day that was yesterday.
Jeff.
We have to find our joy any way we can these days, and it generally isn't in the 2.5 hours between puck drop and final buzzer.
Only 4 more left. You get your 82 badge again, and then we're off into the offseason, which can't come soon enough. Speaking of, Jeff, I'd like your 2 cents on what all the various reports we've heard this week about the Canucks off front office and coaching staff. Let's start with the notion of running it back. Rutherford, Allvin, Foote, whole lock, stock, and barrel.
No, I'm getting a kick out of all of the reporting, both locally and nationally, that basically has reached the conclusion that everything is on the table and open for discussion. As it should be, although these final 4 games cannot have any impact on the decision makers' conclusions of what they've witnessed over the last 6 months here. So I'd have to think that somewhere somebody does have a pretty good sense of how this is all going to shake down. The idea of running it back to me just seems completely foolish. And I've long said on your show that people have to pay a price. There has to be consequence. I've taught my kids through 20 years decisions and consequences, and this management group that had a 50-win, 109-point season not that long ago has completely driven this hockey club into the ground now, and obviously forced the trade of Quinn Hughes. Like, you can't. Somebody has to step up and take accountability. And I do think that it's going to have to cost some people jobs. So when I hear this idea that, oh no, one option is running it all back and thinking that next year it's going to be different, like I can sit here and in my head hear these explanations whenever we get the chance to question management about this dark season. We'll hear about injuries. We'll hear about the optimism of a healthy Thatcher Demko and what he might mean for this hockey club moving forward, and the fact that Marco Rossi's here now, and that gives them a 1-2 punch at center that they didn't have for most of this season. And I just want to pull my eyeballs out even thinking about that, but have been around this job long enough and kind of know how this goes. And I think that's exactly how it would all play out. Improvement from within, all the experience that all these young players have gained this year playing in the National Hockey League, significant minutes. And yeah, down the road, those guys will be better for it. But next year, I'm not so sure. And certainly after nights like last night, the performance in Los Angeles, it just feels like they have all checked out now.
I'll do you one better or one worse than running it back. Jeff, how about the notion of reassigning Patrick Allvin within the organization so we're not paying him for nothing?
Yeah, and I've heard that floated. You just don't see it in pro sports. So I would be shocked if that's the way it all went down. And yet, when I think about Patrick Allvin, the person that I've come to know a little bit through his time here, I think the least favorite part of his job is the public-facing stuff. If ever there was a guy that probably could accept a reassignment / demotion that allowed him to work to his strengths and more on the scouting and player development side of things, that's probably where he is best suited. He had an opportunity here. It hasn't gone particularly well, but he's Jim Rutherford's guy. Jim brought him in, and I could see Jim Rutherford trying to protect him rather than having to, flat out fire him. The other part is, it's my understanding that Patrick Allvin's wife has a fairly high-level job here in town, and, if he wants to stick around and have this as a home base for the family, then maybe there is a world in which that works. It's been such a bizarre season for the Vancouver Canucks that nothing really would surprise me at this stage, but I haven't closed that off as an option if it's the way it all shakes down.
It's a wonderful place to live. We know how Swedes have felt about this
happy
community.
Wife, happy life.
Absolutely.
And I'll say this too, guys. Like, if there's a priority from my standpoint, whether you want to frame it as a gun to the head, only one decision can be made, or just in terms of the most urgent, like the rebuild is happening. Like against everybody's thoughts of whether or not they would actually jump in with both feet, they've actually done enough from a managerial standpoint that it looks like they actually mean to rebuild. So in that way, I think the off-ice stuff, we can agree, is headed, for the most part, in the right direction. But on the ice, that's the one thing that we can still evaluate on a night-to-night basis, Jeff. The coaching, the decision-making of Adam Foote perplexes me and makes me seriously doubt that he is a National Hockey League coach. And so for me, that's the bigger question going forward rather than the managers. Again, just priorities, never mind whether or not it all should happen.
And look, we have all covered this team through the last decade. There have been lots of bad years. This has been different, being dead last, sinking like a stone to the finish line with 10 losses in the last 11 games. This idea that we're not seeing much in the way of player development, certainly on the back end. There are a few examples up front, perhaps, but these are the things that you're judging this coaching staff. It's not about wins and losses. They're up against it almost every night. They're going to lose way more than they win. We know all of that. It's so... what is this coaching staff? And it's not just Adam Foote. I'm lumping the staff in here as well. These guys are on the ice. They're doing the video work on a daily basis. Are we seeing progress from Tom Willander and Zeev Bouillon and DPD and Victor Mancini? And, those last two, they can't even get in the lineup on a last place team on a nightly basis here. So, yeah. And the other part there is trying to sell this to a fan base. We're hearing on a daily basis now, long-time, diehard Canuck fans that are starting to step up and speak with their wallet and peel away from this hockey club as far as their, all-in commitment is concerned. And I just think the idea of selling this coaching staff to this fan base, even when they're at this low ebb, this whole season has been screaming for change. And so that's why I come back to this idea that there's just no way that they can run this back and seriously look their season ticket holders and their best customers in the eye and think that, yes, that's the best course of action for this hockey club.
How about Ryan Johnson? You've known Ryan Johnson a long time. It's been 14 years now in the Canucks executive offices in various roles. And, of course, we knew him for a couple of seasons here as a player as well. What's your 2 cents on Ryan Johnson, whether or not he should be elevated, promoted to general manager, and whether you think that would resonate with fans?
I just don't know. And honestly, that's not a cop-out. It is that you don't know until you know. I mean, people thought that Jim Benning, with this great scouting background, was ready and the right man for the job. That didn't go so well. People thought Patrick Allvin had worked to a position where he was primed to get a first opportunity as a general manager. And there have been some moments, but here we are with this team that basically has spiraled out of control this season. So you're right. I've always enjoyed my dealings with Ryan Johnson. I think he presents well-spoken guy. Communication's been a massive issue for both of the last general managers that were employed by the Vancouver Canucks. So I think Ryan Johnson would acquit himself nicely there. But in terms of him having both hands on the wheel, you just don't know until these guys are in that chair and starting to make these decisions. And so I did a nice job overseeing Abbotsford. Obviously has a championship to show for it. It's been a difficult year. And I really do. I feel sorry for everybody associated with Abbotsford. I mean, most of their best talent has been in the National Hockey League all season, to the point that Ryan Johnson has been left scrambling on a number of occasions to find anybody that can serve as a backup goaltender. They've been playing with 8 and 9 defensemen on a lot of nights. Like, they just haven't had a legitimate roster to work with down there, mostly because of what's happened above them at the National Hockey League level. So talk about a guy that's paid his dues without a doubt. And I support the notion, but I just can't sit here and tell you that Ryan Johnson is the answer for the Vancouver Canucks. But I do think that he has earned the opportunity, and certainly his loyalty to this organization probably should be rewarded. So let's see where this one goes.
Is there is there any thought that maybe the Vancouver Canucks need to fully divest themselves of this group, turn the page, and just begin with guys that are going to be here for the next 10 years? They get the longest leash.
Well, that gets you to a Ryan Johnson conclusion, I would say.
Right? If you think he's got enough experience to be the architect
in that
of
model.
That.
Yeah, exactly.
But, do you need a 10-year plan starting today? And, of course, that's not with Jim Rutherford. It can't be. Just, the age comes into play there.
Maybe that is what it takes as a guarantee for anybody that's coming in, that they are going to get an extended runway. But when the buck stops with ownership and patience is in such short supply there, and that's the other part that we haven't heard from ownership. And so anecdotally, we're told that ownership's on board with this and has finally come to this realization that what they've been doing for the last decade hasn't been working. And so maybe it was time for a new path, but still would love some sort of indication, whether in the form of a letter or, I'd love a press conference and to hear from Francesco Aquilini himself, but I'm not holding my breath for that one. So it's hard to kind of connect those dots and think that now management would be on board with something like, yes, we are fully prepared to ride this out with you over a 10-year period. And, just back to what you said a little bit earlier, Blake, like, you're right. They have signaled that they are in it for the rebuild, but we still haven't seen a lot of activity from this front office outside of some trades. But even at that, there wasn't creativity, not taking on bad contracts, so weaponizing cap space, all those types of things that the truly effective rebuilds have done. And so it just sort of feels piecemeal here, and come back to this idea that the development of players is already an issue. There isn't a whole lot in the pipeline. And Ryan Johnson can get the promotion, but he of all people would know that there isn't a whole lot in the pipeline here. And so maybe he would demand that sort of assurance from ownership, because he would know that the cavalry's not on the way. Certainly not within the organization right now. They've loaded up on these draft picks. That will help, but they've got to hammer these draft picks and make sure that they get almost all of them right. I'm going to give them a little leeway. You never hit on 100% of your draft picks, but they stockpiled the picks. Now they have to use them as effectively as possible.
What about Manny? Jeff, where are you on Manny? Do you think Manny would resonate with the fan base?
Yeah, with the fan base, absolutely. I think fan base is certainly on side with Manny Malhotra, but it's an undeniable truth that he would be another first-time head coach at the National Hockey League level. Again, a guy that has paid his dues and has worked not only in Vancouver, but Toronto. He understands the rigors and demands that come along with a job in a Canadian market. He's a level-headed guy. Again, I think articulates his message and his thought process fairly well, and so that would serve him well in that role here. So, yeah, again, it's been a really difficult year for him, but there's no doubt that he attracted attention last year. And I mean this with all due respect to Manny, that last year was maybe too much too soon in that he won the championship, and it's almost like teams around the National Hockey League maybe weren't ready to jump in and give him that opportunity to make the jump to the National Hockey League level last summer. And they kind of wanted to see him back it up. And then we know that this season has gone off the rails. But I don't think really that that's Manny's fault. And I don't think Manny has lessened as a coach. In fact, he's probably learned some pretty good lessons through the adversity that he has faced out in Abbey this year.
Meanwhile, on the ice, if we might for a second, or what's actually not going to... Well, it's actually not what's happening on the ice. It doesn't look like the Vancouver Canucks are going to get any more college free agents, none of the prime ones. We've chronicled some of the exploits down for the Abbey Canuck guys that got there, but the big names aren't coming. It doesn't sound like, Jeff. Is that a disappointment that those are long shots anyway. As much as TJ Hughes is getting hyped, like there's no guarantee that he's a player, but should they have made themselves a bigger player in those sweepstakes?
Well, my hunch is that they probably kicked tires and were in on some of them, but I mean, look where they are right now. Although sometimes, that's appealing to a college free agent because it's an automatic opportunity. And that is the one thing that the Vancouver Canucks could offer. Although jumping on board this disaster right now, I don't know how appealing that would be to anybody and their advisors. So, yeah, it's disappointing just because I think it reflects another loss for the Vancouver Canucks when other teams are adding pieces. And as you said, they are lottery picks and a lot of them don't pan out, but there's no acquisition cost, and sometimes you do find a player that can come in and contribute. So, yeah, I mean, I had hopes that as this season slipped away for the Vancouver Canucks, that was something to look forward to. We knew that there weren't going to be many call-ups from Abbotsford, but I did think that somehow, some way, they might be able to add a couple of college guys. Now, they did at the American Hockey League level, but in terms of anybody that might grow with this group and be a part of what they're trying to put together, looks like that opportunity has passed. So, yeah, I mean, small D, but I would call that a little bit of a disappointment. Just, again, you wanted to see this team find the odd victory because it's not happening on the ice. So away from the rink, I thought it was an opportunity for them, but it looks like an opportunity now that has passed.
And practice rink.
It's moving forward. Well, a little bit of money committed by the city, it sounds like, earlier this week by the park board. It looks like plans are slowly churning forward.
Yeah.
Are you a believe it when you see it person right now, Jeff, or are you fully confident it's going to happen?
Yeah, I don't know that I have a whole lot to add based on the story that Daily Hive had about the park board, but we'll get the first update, I would imagine, from Jim Rutherford whenever he meets the media here at season's end. It's become sort of a twice annual question, and the training camp availability, and then again at season's end. And there really hasn't been much to report on the file, but it does feel like some progress. And the hockey club hasn't said anything. It refused to comment when IRF had the report about a month ago and kind of kicked the can down the road a little bit. But we will hear from Jim Rutherford in his own words. They haven't made any sort of proclamation. There hasn't been any ground breaking, shovel in the earth, scissors and the ribbon cutting and all that kind of stuff. So your guess is as good as mine. It feels like it's moving in that direction, and that part is good news. But I also think that now I'm seeing a lot of pushback of, one sheet, that's it? Like, does that really
solve the issue? Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Right.
And there was a speaker yesterday talking about if it's only one sheet and the Canucks need it even for an hour a day, like the capacity loss for the community. As you talked about when this story first broke, Jeff, like if it's one sheet, that is not really a practice. That falls short of what you need.
Yeah, I mean, it allows them to say, hey, we've got a practice facility, but do you really? You would have all of the ancillary parts of a practice facility with training rooms and medical and all of that and a player lounge, and that's great. But you're right. Like the teams that are doing this up right have multiple sheets of ice. A lot of them have 3 sheets. Certainly most practice facilities at the NHL level have at least 2 sheets of ice. And when you have multiple sheets of ice, it allows you to have practice. You can split your practice if you wanted to. You could have groups working on different things on different areas of the ice. You could have your injured guys skating while the main group is practicing. Usually visiting teams, when they come to town, they want ice as well, and you can offer them ice at your practice facility. Well, again, this is just going to complicate that. If visiting teams want afternoon ice, because the Canucks would generally practice in the morning, now you're into competing with community groups and public skating and minor hockey and all that kind of stuff. And so you're right. It's not a perfect solution by any stretch of the imagination. And ultimately, we'll see if those are hurdles that can be cleared when they finally get around to
training camp.
This.
You need multiple sheets for a training camp.
Training camp. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, the AHL group could do Britannia. The NHL group could do.
For sure. I mean, but that's not ideal.
You can still take your training camp to Penticton, right?
Yes. Well, you should. I mean, okay, one last question for you, Jeff. It's a toughie. Can you believe they lost Clay?
No. Honestly, I can't. They have broken Clay, and this is it's a sad story because
it's a community
nobody loves his Canucks. It is, and not just Clay, but his ticket partner as well. So it's a. But we're seeing more and more of these stories anecdotally, but Clay absolutely represents a next level of fandom that has seen enough and has finally spoken up, and good on him. And, as they've played out the string here, and we've talked about attendance and ticket prices and people getting in and all that kind of stuff. But the inventory for this year has been sold. Like the people that are getting tickets on the secondary market, those tickets have been purchased generally as part of a season ticket package. Push comes to shove here over the offseason now. And how many can they retain? And how many people are truly willing to buck up and pay for this product after what they've seen? And we've heard that season ticket members don't feel that they're getting a ton of bang for their buck. Forget the games and the 8 home ice wins. That letter to the season ticket members that really was the Canucks saying, look at all the things that we've done for you outside of the Carels, and people have pushed back on that and don't feel that necessarily they're getting the value add there. So, I was surprised. I thought Clay was a ride or die guy, but I totally get it. It's a big investment. Even if it's not full season tickets, it's still a ton of investment financially, with your time, your emotions, and people have just kind of said enough is enough with this season. And ultimately, we'll see what that looks like in the building on a lot of nights next year.
And the non-corporate fan, his partner, Clay's partner in the season tickets, said it's too hard for us now to sell our tickets if we can't go. And so unless you're a law firm, that's a big consideration. It used to be that you could make some money back even.
Yeah, corporations can always find or almost always find someone to go, or they just eat it. But if it's individual people buying them, yes, there has to be a way out of the games that you cannot attend or don't choose to attend with some notion that you can break even on that night.
Well, at least that you're dealing in the free market. But now that they have said that you can't deal in the free market to sell those spare tickets, you've got to go through X, Y, and Z process, and we get a piece of that process. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Free market. Does it matter if it's a free market when there's no market?
That's true, too.
Well, and to that point, like I've got a longtime friend whose family has been season ticket holders since day one. And this is probably a month ago, coming out of the Olympic break, a day of game. He's got 2 seats, lower bowl club seats right in behind the penalty boxes. And he sent a text to a bunch of us. I'm just part of a group text. And he was like, hey, anybody want to go to the game tonight? Just crickets. And, that's kind of where we are in all of this, that it's just not worth the effort to get up off your own couch to get downtown for 3 or 4 hours of ultimately what? You're not seeing much and you're not getting any kind of return on your investment of time.
Well, maybe they'll see the light and decide, you know what, it's worth $2 billion right now, perhaps before we have to fund a practice facility and other things, escalating salary cap, that it is time to move on.
Well,
Jeff,
I am curious, just really, like when we saw what was coming out of Seattle this week and this idea that the Kraken have failed their market.
Yep.
You see that around the National Hockey League. I think that applies some pressure on whoever sits at that dais a week from now. I really am curious to see if there is accountability on that front, because for the most part, even that letter that went out to season ticket members, there was no sort of tone to that letter of, we're with you in this, we feel your pain. It was just, hey, look at all the things that we've done for you as season ticket members. Now buck up again. So I am really kind of curious to see if there is true accountability and ownership, not of the hockey club, but of this season that has completely gone sideways.
That's a great point, Jeff, because therein lies the rub here. This franchise is so transactional. It looks at it, you're here, we're there. There's no in this together. There's no community with their best customers. It is purely a transactional relationship. Yep. That's how they regard their season ticket members. And seemingly day by day, that's more and more how the season ticket member is regarding the organization, right? Like back in the heyday, like we used to hear from season ticket members who almost felt like an ownership of the club. It was almost like a European soccer-like attitude towards the Vancouver Canucks, that the club was part of the community, part of their fabric. And that is just so lost right now. And it's particularly lost because you don't ever hear from ownership or the senior business management either, right? Like at least back in the day, the likes of Chris Zimmerman, Victor Debonis, even Jeff Stipek, briefly, were making the rounds. They were out there as public figures in Vancouver. Michael Doyle is not. Like
we had Debonis on 3 times a year.
That's right. Like, Victor Debonis, they would call us up at the old radio station. Hey, we're doing this, this, and this. Would you mind having Victor Debonis on as a guest? And Victor would come on and he would explain whatever business initiatives were going on with the club, because they valued that sort of communication with the community that they just don't seem, value. They don't even execute any kind of communication with the greater community these days. It's really, really sad.
So the worse they get on the ice, the more distant that upper management and ownership gets, and that's a massive disconnect. And yet they continue to preach this notion of they've got it, they know best. And I think it's pretty clear now that they don't got it and they don't know best. And so, to bring the conversation sort of full circle here, something has to change. Something's got to give. This idea of just returning everybody and thinking it's going to be different next year, it is a foolish notion. There's just no doubt about that.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I would add Rutherford, Allvin, Foote, and Doyle. I think you got to blow them all out. I think you need a total fresh start here, and I think you've got to be humble and understand just how disastrous this was, just how much you have failed as an organization, and basically go cap in hand and say, look, we've got new people here. Give them a chance with a clean sheet and fresh start. Jeff, you enjoy that game tomorrow against San Jose. At least you get to see Macklin celebrating. Too bad it doesn't look like a playoff.
2 games this weekend, Matt. There's 2 games this weekend.
You know what? It's sort of like eating medication, though. Better to take 2 quickly, and rather than spread them out. Just swallow it, move on.
By Monday morning, we will be rid of half the games remaining on the schedule.
That's the reframe. That's the
attitude, Jeff.
Thanks, buddy.
Secure some breaks from the historic Wall Center, the Pacific Toyota dealer studio built by Arbor Lee. The real win happens after the final buzzer. Stay downtown, stay comfortable, stay close to everything here at the Sheraton Vancouver Wall Center. Your game day home base starts at wallcenter.com. Well, the Vancouver Canadians are finally on the board in season 2026. It took them a while, especially for a franchise that does a lot of winning. They get their first win of the season last night at the Nat after that franchise worst start. They're now 1-5 on the year following a 14-5 thumping of Eugene. And the stars here were a couple of returnees. Carter Cunningham, who was here last year, went 4 for 5 with 4 RBI. Our boy Arjun Namala had a couple of RBI as well. New fan favorite Dub Gleed was 1 for 4 with 4 RBI. The name is just spectacular. The Seas are back at it today. In fact, they're back at it now. They're at the Nat playing the first Fortis BC nooner of the season. Now, of course, in the spring, and this started a few years ago, the Saturday and the Sunday games are also 105 first pitches.
Keep you warm and toasty.
Absolutely. And, well, especially, it's a great idea because when the sun's out like this, I mean, the Nats, it's the best patio in town. Tomorrow is Filipino Heritage Day at the ballpark, and look at the specialty jerseys the club will be wearing to honor Filipino Heritage Day.
Wow. Those are something.
Very elaborate.
Yeah.
They're designed by a local artist, Mar Cortez, and they bring together the symbols of spirit, identity, and pride. And they'll not only be worn on Saturday, they will be auctioned off during the game. So an opportunity to get one of those beauties if you're so inclined. Sunday, the first family fun Sunday of the year. Kids can run the bases, of course. And you want to get your tickets, 604-872-5232 or CanadiansBaseball.com. Sunday umbrella giveaway day as well. So there you have it.
Umbrellas.
Yeah. Well, every homestand this year, and there are all 6-game homestands, there is a minimum of at least 2 giveaways per homestand. Check out their schedule online, and you can find out what giveaways are on what days. Whitecaps host NYFC FC tomorrow, 4:30 BC Place. This guy's calling it for Apple TV. Dolly, your color man tomorrow?
Dolly's the color guy tomorrow, yeah.
Fantastic. And they're 23,000 and counting.
I heard they got past 24 even.
Okay.
So, yeah.
It is going to be another big crowd. Last week, the Whitecaps opened the roof. First open roof of the season. So,
and this is a 4:30 start. I don't think the weather's supposed to be as good tomorrow. Okay. And remember, their rule is not if it's sunny in the moment. They need 24 hours of dryness for the scoreboard.
Right.
I'll see.
Jesper Sorensen yesterday declaring Andres Kubas ready to return. He got hurt in Spokane. He missed the last 2 games. Initially, Jesper said if he's back in a month, that's very good news. Well, it's less than that, so this is even better than the rosiest scenarios that were painted.
Yeah, that's good. It's one guy. He's very valuable. They've been a little bit well, the thrust has been for the wings.
You can see what he means to the club. Like we said last week, they got to win, but they really didn't play all that great.
Well, defensively, they lose a lot, and then there's been something missing up the middle in creation without him there. Everything has been from the wings, so you have to keep everybody on their toes. It's a good team, too. NYCFC is no slouch.
Do they have a star?
They've got the legend Maxi Morales, who is he's the 4th oldest player in MLS. Former,
but they don't have like one of these big international DPs.
Well, he's a longtime Atalanta player and racing in Brazil, Club Leon in Mexico. So he's had his Hannes Wolf, the Austrian.
We are hoping to see more of newcomer Bruno Caicedo after his electric debut last week for the Caps. Good story here from Benedict Rhodes on the Canadian Soccer Daily about this Ecuadorian who reports in 25 minutes of work last week, he took 3 shots, one of which, of course, forced a good save from the Canadian keeper, James Pantemis of Portland. Another that was blocked inside the 6-yard box by a defender. And he won all 5 of his duels as well.
Yeah. He just goes wide on you, and you can't
Yeah.
do anything about it. It's pretty exciting.
Jesper, if you're watching, listening, we want to see more of Caicedo. He's a whole lot of fun. And Canadian women's national team is in action this weekend. Here are the athletes who will represent Canada at the FIFA series in Brazil, which starts tomorrow, and all of these games are televised on TSN. The Canadian women, no, that's not it, Mike. That's the golf scoreboard. I maybe forgot to get that to you. Anyways, Canada faces, they're 9th ranked, incidentally, in the FIFA. There you go. There's the roster. Some British Columbians on that list. 9th ranked Canada faces number 66 Zambia, number 19 Korea, and the hosts, number 8 Brazil. That should be a good one. Of course, once upon a time, Brazil-Canada was Sinclair versus Marta, right? The two best players in the game. All the matches are taking place at the Arena Pantanal. Canada faces Zambia tomorrow. That's a noon kickoff. And then Tuesday against Korea, also a noon kickoff. It is next Saturday versus the Brazilians at 6:30.
A couple of the BC gals are injured right now, are not on that list. Holly Ward and Jordan Heidema both nicked, so that's why they're not there.
And the Masters is underway, and Scotland's Robert McIntyre is often a good follow on the golf course because, first of all, he's a terrific golfer. Secondly, he's a lefty. Some of us like that. But he can be spicy. He can be off-put. He can be profane. And yesterday he was all of those things after a quadruple bogey 9 on the 15th hole, a par 5. He was caught making a middle finger gesture after, he hit his approach into the pond. Then he hit his neck shot into the pond. Then he flew the back of the green. So it was very much a golf hole that we amateurs can appreciate, right? We've all done that. But when you're a pro and it gives away your chance to win the Masters, that's a difficult thing to deal with.
Who is he making the middle finger to?
Not entirely sure.
Just the golf hole, maybe?
Maybe it was to a patron. Of course, there could very well be some lingering Ryder Cup. Remember all the toing and froing with the American fans at Bethpage on Long Island during the Ryder Cup. And, McIntyre did respond. There was some repartee there between McIntyre and the American fans. Now, I certainly hope the patrons of Augusta would behave with more decorum. We know how Augusta insists on decorum. You're not allowed to run. Do you know they kicked Calcavecchia off the grounds this week because he used a cell phone? That's former PGA Tour winner and Open champ, Mark Calcavecchia.
Also, he can have a temper too. So
it was an outward 39 for McIntyre. He shot 8 over par 80. He also let his frustrations boil over on 17. He slammed his club into the ground, and he was twice picked up by the microphones swearing on the 12th and 13th hole. Although, swearing for a Scotsman, Blake, really.
Come on, it's just an adjective at that point or adverb. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, there's a Scottish comedian out there who, does a whole bit about, words that would be really offside in other countries that are just part of the Scottish vernacular.
Yeah.
I'm not going to repeat them here. I can, but I won't. Anyways, here's the other thing. This century, or since 2005, only 2 players have come from outside of the top 10 after round 1 to win the tournament. And those players were Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy. So, as Kyle Porter, CBS notes,
pretty special players.
Yeah. Your 2026 champ is probably going to come from this list. Here is your top 10 from yesterday. And look, there's a lot of big names there. Rory McIlroy's there. Jason Day is there. Patrick Reed, former Green Jacket winner. Shane Lowry, Xander Schauffele, Justin Rose. He's been a runner-up here many times. Scheffler. I love that Hao Tong Lee is playing well again. He is quite a character from China. Of course, he finished runner-up to Scheffler at the Open Championship last year. Abby, he was a distant runner-up because Scotty blew away the field. Lee told an incredible story on Golf Channel yesterday. He said Rory invited him down to Florida to play some practice rounds. And they were joined by Brad Faxon, now a golf commentator, but of course a former PGA Tour winner and truly one of the great putters of all time, Brad Faxon. And Rory has retained his services for putting. So Lee's playing with Rory and Faxon, and he's like, boy, this guy's pretty good. And he goes up to Rory and he says, this guy we're playing with, he's got to be like a low-cap amateur, right? And Rory goes, no, he's an 8-time PGA Tour winner. Anyways, very amusing story. Our boy Nick Taylor of Abbotsford was 1 under in the opening round. That was in position to be in position.
Tough start to the day. We'll monitor that.
The start in round 2 has not been as kind.
One player's already gone very low today. Tyrrell Hatton ripped it up. He's not off the course as we speak here.
There's another guy who should get a mulligan on cursing on course.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, you're disappointed if you don't.
That is part of the show with Tyrrell Hatton. He carries an R rating.
It's dinner and a movie with Tyrrell Hatton.
Maybe an NC-17 at Augusta.
Yeah.
I want Tyrrell Hatton and McIntyre in a group when they're playing poorly together. That's what I would pay to watch.
There should be a channel that allows the swearing and the antics.
Absolutely. TSN should dedicate one of the feeds.
Yes.
With a warning there, parental advisory.
We're covering Tyrrell Hatton on TSN 4. Be careful.
And we've mentioned all week the Vancouver Warriors with a big one tonight as they play their penultimate regular season game in the NLL. They finished with 2 straight home games here. They are tied for first place. They need to win tonight to maintain that tie of first place. They have Halifax in town. They finish next Saturday with Philadelphia. And they do know they are hosting an NLL playoff game. They just don't yet know the date or the time, but tickets are already on sale, and they have had some very nice crowds there at Rogers Arena of late. For the Warriors, cresting 10,000 people, and we remember they did some great crowds towards the end of last year when they went on a late season and playoff run. Final results of yesterday's daily poll question. We asked you, will Canucks attendance drop next season if they run back the same managers and coaches? Yes or no? People said.
We said, are you...
Will it drop next
Will
season?
it drop?
Yeah.
No, won the poll.
Yes, won the poll.
65.
Like 87%.
87%.
87%.
Did people realize that attendance has never really dropped for the Vancouver Canucks
well,
in the last
I
quarter
think
century?
people believe that this is an inflection point. I think people believe that we are now at the point where, and what a lot of people noted in the comments was the price increases. And of course, as we know, other franchises, Seattle, for example, not raising ticket prices, that the price increase after this season, even if it is just a marginal increase in some sections, is beyond the pale. That is the hill that some are going to die on. So we'll see where it goes. Wiley said it's not going to happen regardless who's in charge. It's got to happen regardless who's in charge. Sorry. Cordelia, I think the main reason the attendance will drop is an increase in ticket prices. People just can't afford to drop hundreds to see games. Scott, sales will not appreciably drop due to the season ticket holders. However, there will likely be more empty seats and cheaper tickets available on the resale side. That is a phenomenon that we've seen this year and through the darker days of the Willie Desjardins, Jim Benning period. Salt and Paprika says whether management stays or goes doesn't impact the casual fan. If we get a player like McKenna, fans will come for the novelty. If there isn't sufficient player turnover, even a cheap secondary market won't stem the declining interest. Can you buy that?
I think there's always going to be enough interest to float the boat here. And I again, as I said yesterday, I think it'll be inconsequential. And further to that point, I want to make this one an addendum to our discussion yesterday on this. If it goes down 600 people per game, Do the math on that versus the millions saved on the salary cap both this year and presumably next as well. Versus a team that is vying for a playoff spot. They spend to the cap like a couple of years ago, thinking they're going to make the playoffs. Don't make the playoffs. You don't get the playoff revenue, but you've spent to the cap and beyond. You've gone into LTIR. You're spending all that money.
Well, it's not just LTIR, it's hockey expenditures too. It's the Abbotsford side, right? If you're paying NHL salaries down there, which doesn't show on the salary cap.
Right. So all that money. So all that, they're free of all of that. They're spending below the cap this year already. They'll spend it
2 years in a row. They're going to be 13 or so million under the cap.
So all that should cover a depression of, 500 to 800 people per game.
Yeah, fair enough. Errors and omissions from yesterday's program and beyond. I aired Ryan Johnson never played for the Nashville Predators. He lives in Nashville in the offseason, but he was never a Predator.
I can picture him in a Pred jersey.
No, I know. Anyways, my bad. Elias Paterson, we talked about how he's gone 10 games without a goal, now 11 games without a goal. And that was after the 2-goal outburst versus Florida. But he was in a big drought before that. It was 31 games, and only one of them he scored in. It's now 32 games, and only one of them he scored in.
Didn't look very deadly last night.
No. And we had a camera matter yesterday.
Did we? It's too bad.
Anyways. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Thanks for joining the show, spending time connecting with the program. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. Follow on social, X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky, live on many of those platforms, noon Pacific weekdays. And, of course, please do support the community sponsors you hear us talking about and keep it local.